What if I told you that the corrupted tablet fragments are better scattered, and that your quest to find all of them and bring them back to Mittistown's lab is an absolutely horrible idea that will result in the resurrection of AKKUWARI? Well, I believe I have discovered the whole climax of Loomian Legacy's story in this extremely detailed theory, backed up by a lot of in-game evidence. So without further ado, let's get right into this. And a massive thanks to Lucky HD for making his original video and getting me thinking about this whole thing and getting the ball rolling. Before I give my full explanation, you need to know some context. And that is why I'm going to be quickly going over the first Lost City lore and the second Lost City lore, and essentially summarizing them both into the important parts that are needed to make this theory work. So I will quickly be doing that. Okay, so basically Levinos comes to Earth and it has the soul heart, kind of part of it, I guess you could say. Then it embeds the soul heart into the earth and creates a network of soul crystals that grow throughout the entire planet. Levinos then creates humans and Loomians to live in harmony and build a perfect utopia. However, AKKUWARI then appears in the world, and it is described as a being of two parts: infectious corruption and insatiable hunger. AKKUWARI then fed on the planet's soul crystal veins, absorbing its power. AKKUWARI also used its power to corrupt anything in its wake with a disease that corrupted the minds, turning humans and Loomians against each other. The constant draining of these soul crystals meant that the land around it became desolate, and soon, after so many soul crystals had been harvested, there was only the soul heart that remained. This led to a battle between Levinos, since it was the personal protector of the soul heart, and AKKUWARI. Levinos uses the power of the soul heart to fend off AKKUWARI, leaving it and AKKUWARI mortally injured. Humans then transplant AKKUWARI's remaining power into a stone, which is the depleted soul crystal, and this will be extremely important later, and they move it someplace far away. It's heavily implied, and I believe this very strongly, that the stone / crystal used to seal AKKUWARI's power is the same corrupt tablet that started flying about and got scattered all across Roria, turning into the fragments that we are going after. This is going to be extremely relevant when I explain the rebirth of AKKUWARI and the second city in just a second. Right, so I'm going to briefly explain the second Lost City lore and the rebirth of AKKUWARI. After the slumber of Levinos, humanity is left without a god, and so it uses the power of the soul heart to create a balanced being known as Nova Deus. This Loomian Nova Deus is the overseer of the Lost City and keeps the peace for a long time. Eventually, it bores an egg, and everyone is happy. Some ancient followers of the corruption then steal the egg. They implant it with their corruption, and eventually the reborn AKKUWARI emerges from it. This reborn AKKUWARI is what we will know as STARLA, and I will explain a lot more on this later. Obviously, the first sign we have is the eyes. This causes Nova Deus to get extremely angry with humanity, and so it launches a massive attack upon the Lost City. Humans, in desperation, call upon the soul heart to split the deity into two, and so the obsidian seal, the item fusing it, is left upon a pedestal, with Glacidia and Arceros being imprisoned. And so after that, humans leave the Lost City, and so it is never touched again for several thousand years. Now, about this creature from the egg being STARLA, the indicator that we have is obviously the eyes, and This is the only indicator, but there is no other Loomian in the game with features like these. So it basically has to be STARLA. But now, the much bigger thing, and we have a lot more evidence for, is that STARLA is AKKUWARI. In fact, a weakened form of AKKUWARI. Let me show you all the evidence we have. The first piece of evidence we have for AKKUWARI being STARLA is its soul crystal feeding habits. STARLA is shown in a flashback with Dr. Vanta to be feeding on soul crystals, and we know from the lore at the Atlanthean Museum that AKKUWARI fed on soul crystals which drained the planet. And if my assumptions are true, that STARLA is AKKUWARI in a weakened form, then it makes sense why eating that original soul crystal didn't really do anything to the planet. Because, you know, it's only small and it doesn't have the same kind of influence as the previously great dark corruption AKKUWARI did. My next piece of evidence is corruption of the mind. I have reason to believe, and we have actually seen this in the story, that STARLA can mind control people or has some kind of influence over the mind. In Route 8, the guy who gave STARLA to Mabel, his dialogue afterwards says he does not remember going from Sephirite City to Route 8. Meaning he possibly was not in control of himself while he was acting as kind of the guy who gave STARLA to Mabel. And guess what? In the AKKUWARI lore piece at the Atlanthean Museum, it says that AKKUWARI had the power to corrupt the mind. So I believe STARLA was using this at a lesser extent on that hooded guy. And also, I believe this is really draining for STARLA because it was sleeping all day afterwards, meaning that it is pretty weak in its current form. My third point, and is probably the most obvious, is how angry STARLA was at the Soul Heart. STARLA knew that the Soul Heart was a threat. After all, the thing could literally create a legendary and was able to split that legendary. So it being gone was essential for STARLA's long-term plan of obviously, you know, becoming the full AKKUWARI. And so when it was gone, STARLA was relieved again because now it had one less threat to worry about. Now, with how STARLA is AKKUWARI explained, I can go over why STARLA/AKKUWARI is even going with Mabel in the first place. And this is where it gets proper juicy. So, you might remember after the battle with AKKUWARI and Levonos, that the humans sealed AKKUWARI's power into a depleted soul crystal. And what is AKKUWARI/STARLA explicitly stated and shown to consume? That's right, soul crystals. So that's why I believe STARLA is following Mabel and the rest of the gang. STARLA knows if it follows you, Mabel, everyone, etc., that the whole corrupted tablet will be put back together and it can snatch the power back and form the full AKKUWARI. It does not care about anyone. It does not care about Mabel. It just wants its power back. And that's why it's going with you. So, you collecting all of those fragments for your parents is genuinely a horrible idea. It's much better that the power actually stays scattered so STARLA can never get it and obtain it to become whole again. But every story needs a climax, and so our little happy, safe alternative will not happen, and we will definitely be fighting AKKUWARI whenever the game finishes, or the climax happens anyway. So, yeah, if you guys did enjoy this video and did find it interesting, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. This would be greatly appreciated, and I will see you in another video. Bye!